Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Novel Network. King of Time and King of Identity robbers. Upon waking up, Lin Jue realized that he had traveled to the world of knights, which was also the world of the king with the most immortals. Fortunately, the system was awakened, and a Dark Emperor Rider drive was launched, and the identity of the King of Time robbers was obtained. Ola. Please let me serve the left and right, my king. You are. Although I am a boy, please let me serve you. Swaruz. But that's it, let me deal with him. Taking out the Enchanting Magic Card casually, Lin Jue smiled faintly and said, "How many punches can you take from me?" Chang Panzhuangwu. Stop it quickly, I don't want to be the king of time stopped by time. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. The King of Time Travelers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In his sleep, Lin Jue felt a soft call ringing in his ear. Struggling to open her tired eyes, a strange girl appeared before her. The girl had a charming face and was looking at Lin Jue with a worried gaze, constantly shouting something. "Wang, what's wrong with you?" Lin Jue looked at the unfamiliar girl in front of him, seemingly feeling a hint of familiarity, but he couldn't recall it. Touching his slightly painful head, Lin Jue struggled to sit up. The girl saw this and quickly reached out to help Lin Jue up, with a worried expression on her eyebrows. "We are about to arrive in the king's world, don't you mind?" Lin Jue watched as the girl held on to his pristine hands, some stunned, and some doubted whether he was in a dream. However, the soft touch emanating from the body and the fragrance floating from the tip of the nose proved that everything in front of us is not a dream. With a hard shake of his head, Lin Jue noticed the news that the girl had just revealed. The world of the King of Time. Lin Jue suddenly lifted his head and looked around, his eyes gradually filled with surprise. The place he is in is not his own room, but rather a control room filled with a sense of technology. In front of him, there is also a holographic projection screen and a joystick that he is very familiar with. Is this the interior of the Time Demon God? As he spoke, Lin Jue turned his head to look at the worried girl next to him, but his previously unfamiliar appearance suddenly became familiar. "Are you Ola?" Lin Jue struggled to utter a sentence, somewhat unable to accept everything in front of him. The girl named Ola heard Lin Jue calling out her name, and her originally furrowed eyebrows suddenly relaxed, with a charming smile on her face. "Wang, you have finally recovered. I thought that when we sneaked into the king's world, the old man from Encountering Demons Wang discovered it." Thinking of this, Ola couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. If they were caught by the Demon Encounter King, they would all be finished playing. Lin Jue frowned, confirming that he was now in the world of the Time King, or rather on his way to the world of the Time King. Everything in front of him was so similar to everything he knew about the world of Time Kings, but the only difference was Ola's name for himself. Wang. When did a character like this appear in King Shi's world? Or was it done by oneself? Thinking of this, Lin Jue quickly touched his entire body and confirmed that it was him before he breathed a sigh of relief. Ola looked at Lin Jue's inexplicable behavior and couldn't help but show a hint of doubt on her face. But out of admiration for Lin Jue, she did not ask him the reason for doing so. After confirming his identity, Lin Jue looked at Ola in front of him with a serious expression, but he had already made up his mind. "Ola, to be honest, I was attacked by the Demon King just now." Before Lin Jue could finish speaking, Ola rubbed against these words and stood up, looking around with a guarded expression on her face. She took a defensive stance and looked around, gathering immense strength and ready to take action at any moment. However, after confirming that there was no threat around, Ola reached out and grabbed Lin Jue's hand with a worried expression, saying, "Wang, don't worry. When encountering demons, that old man Wang is really annoying. We haven't done anything yet." Lin Jue felt the gentle touch coming from his hands and couldn't help but be slightly stunned, feeling a bit embarrassed as he continued to weave. But immediately, he put this emotion aside and said sternly to Ola, "Don't worry, I'm not in any big trouble." As he spoke, Lin Jue withdrew his hand from Ola's hand and comfortingly patted her. Upon hearing this, Ola's worries gradually faded from her face, but the sadness between her eyebrows still lingered. After all, as Time Raiders, they are the ones who are most aware of the power of the Demon King, otherwise they would not choose to go back to the past to change history. Even Lin Jue, who was seen as the king in Ola's eyes, could never be a match for the king of encountering demons. Lin Jue couldn't help but sigh in his heart as he looked at Ola, but his face turned positive and he said, "In the attack just now, most of my memory has been lost. But for you, I haven't forgotten. So I want you to explain to me why you call me King. Ola's pretty face couldn't help but blush as she gazed at Lin Jue with a positive expression. It turns out that in Wang's heart, I am so important. Wanting this place, Ola couldn't help but feel a burning sensation on her cheeks and didn't dare to look at Lin Jue. Upon seeing this, Lin Jue also touched his face in silence. Although my face is handsome and disheveled, it shouldn't have let the girls sink so quickly, right? Thinking of this, Lin couldn't help but cough twice, pulling Ola back from her worries. Ola clearly realized her mistake and quickly lowered her head to apologize, "I'm sorry, I got distracted." Then, seemingly to conceal her embarrassment, Ola immediately explained it. The king mentioned by Ola refers to the king of the time robbers, which is the leader of all time robbers. What Ola didn't know was that the so-called time robbers were just excuses created by Swaruz to lure Ola and others into working for him. There have never been any time robbers, the only ones they possess are the Time Clan, and the source of their abilities is the Time Clan. But after being empowered by Swaruz, who is a member of the Time Clan, Ola sees it as a power of her own awakening. And Lin Jue, the king of the time robber, was also deeply rooted in Ola's thoughts after she became the time robber. Lin Jue frowned and gradually understood after listening to Ola's description. The identity of the king of robbers at this time is Lin Jue's identity in this world, and it seems to be a specially crafted identity for him. After all, there is no such thing as the king of time robbers in the world of the original Time King. Taking a deep breath, Lin Jue looked at Ola and said, "Are you the only one among the time robbers?" Ola shook her head and pointed out the window of the time demon, saying, "No, there are two more people." Lin Jue followed Ola's slender fingers and saw two different time demons accompanying him outside the window. And those two, needless to say, Ola, Lin Jue also knew they were Swaruz and Ur. After a moment of contemplation, Lin Jue spoke again, "Are you saying we're heading to the world of the King of Time?" Ola nodded, and Lin Jue also nodded slightly, beginning to calculate in his heart. That means the plot of Shi Wang has not yet begun. But as a traveler, why don't I have any cheats? The identity of the so-called king of time robbers did not bring any abilities to Lin Jue, and in his own perception, he was still an ordinary person. It is obviously impossible to deceive others in the future world of time kings by relying on the title of the so-called king of time robbers. Just as Lin Jue was complaining in his heart, a golden vortex suddenly appeared inside the time demon god. The vortex composed of countless golden clocks instantly sucked Lin Jue into it, and then the vortex suddenly closed. What happened in the blink of an eye made Ola on the side not react, and she was completely stunned. After a moment, Ola's face showed a cold murderous intent, turning her head to look behind her. That was the entrance to the time and space tunnel, where they had come from. "Stinky old man, he took our king away again. Are you so afraid that we will change history?" Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 2. The King's Interest in Encountering Demons, System Activation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the Demon of Time, Aura, with an angry expression on her face, sat in the driver's seat without hesitation, ready to turn around. Although the power of the king when encountering demons is not something she can resist, she will not let Lin Jue face it alone. However, when Ola pushed the time demon's joystick, she found that she was completely out of her control. Ignoring Ola's control, the time demon god rushed out towards the world of the Time King without any wavering, riding in the time and space tunnel without a trace. Why is this happening? Ola gritted her teeth, desperately pounding the time demon, but to no avail. What she didn't know was that in another time demon in the time and space tunnel, a man in purple clothes showed a proud smile. The man named Swaruz's fingertips were surrounded by a purple wave, constantly manipulating the time demon where Ola was located to move forward. I didn't expect the king to intervene when encountering demons. But this also suits my taste. Swaruz rested his legs on the control console with a contented expression, completely indifferent to Lin Jue's life or death. As a member of the Time clan, his power is also the strongest among the time robbers, and naturally he discovered that the king of encountering demons took Lin Jue away. However, this is actually a good thing for Swaruz. The so-called king of time robbers was just a joke in Swaruz's heart, and he wished Lin Jue could die quickly. If Lin Jue stays in this place, I don't know what impact it will have on his plan. But now that the king takes action when encountering demons, Lin Jue has absolutely no hope of survival. So Swaruz naturally didn't want Ola to go back and help Lin Jue. After all, going there was also a double kill, so it was better to keep it for himself to work. The three time demons transformed into a stream of light and disappeared from the time and space tunnel in an instant. On the other side, Lin Jue emerged from the golden vortex and looked at the surroundings with a guarded expression. The endless yellow sand, a dilapidated city, and the empty surroundings. This is everything Lin Jue saw in his eyes at this moment, and the culprit behind all of this was a dark golden armored knight standing in front of him. The king of encountering demons. I didn't expect to be caught as soon as I filled a cup. Lin Jue couldn't help but curse in his heart, thinking of the lie he had made up before and feeling a burst of humor. The current situation is so bad that it cannot be any worse. Originally, Lin Jue had the opportunity to develop from scratch in the world of Swaruz. But now, from the beginning, Lin Jue is directly facing the final boss when encountering demons, and there is basically no chance for Lin Jue to resist. However, since the king brought himself in front of the demon, it was obvious that he was not prepared to directly kill himself. Lin Jue, who understood this point, calmly lifted his head and looked at the king of encountering demons in front of him. Feeling the magnanimity in Lin Jue's gaze, the king couldn't help feeling a little surprised when encountering demons. It has been a long time since no one dared to look at him directly, which has aroused some interest in him. With a gentle flick of his finger, a dilapidated throne appeared behind the king of encountering demons. Immediately after, the dark golden armor on the king's body slowly dissipated when encountering demons, revealing the slightly aged man among them, Chang Panzhuangwu. Old man Chang Panzhuangwu sat straight on the throne and looked at Lin Jue with a majestic gaze. The voice of the elderly came out. "What is your name, time robber kid?" Lin Jue, who was originally still silent on Wang Zhen's body when encountering demons, now regained his senses and shrugged his shoulders, saying, "Lin Jue." Upon hearing this, the king of encountering demons nodded and said, "In front of me, there is no self-proclaimed king, it's quite clever." Although Lin Jue's identity is the king of time robbers, if he had mentioned this in front of the demon encountering king just now, there would have been no need for his existence. As the ruler of the world, if you want to be king in front of him, you don't have enough strength and can only turn into yellow sand on the ground. Such domineering words made Lin feel a chill in his heart, and he still had some pressure when facing the demon encounter king. After a pause, the king spoke again when encountering the demon, "Give you a chance to return to your original world. That era didn't require your existence." Speaking, when encountering demons, the king raised his hand and summoned a golden vortex behind Lin Jue. Lin Jue turned around and looked into the golden vortex, but inside it was pitch black and nothing could be seen. Turning again to look at the king of encountering demons, Lin Jue frowned and said, "What do you mean?" When encountering the demon, Wang Songlau's face showed a smile and he replied, "You time robbers want to change history to overthrow my rule. But in my eyes, everything you have done is just a passing game. The reason why I allow you to go to the past era is simply because I am curious if I, who used to be in the past, can find another path. As for you." When encountering the demon, the king's gaze suddenly became profound, and his tone suddenly became a bit cold, saying, "I can't see your future. I can't see your past, everything about you. So, your joining will make everything difficult to control. I don't like that." As the words fell, when encountering the demon, the king suddenly stood up and spoke again, "Considering your performance just now, I gave you a way out. Go back to your own time and space, otherwise." The dark golden armor appeared, and when encountering demons, the king transformed again, slowly raising his right hand and coldly saying, "Death." As the word "die" spread, Lin Jue suddenly felt a killing intent locking him in. As soon as he said a word "no," he would immediately leave. Just as Lin Jue's forehead was dripping with cold sweat and his heart was hesitating, a crisp reminder sounded in his mind. Ding! Detected that the host is in a dangerous state, the system has been activated. The beginner gift pack has been distributed. Do you want to open it? This crisp reminder sound was like a life-saving straw, pulling Lin Jue back from the abyss of death. Open. Without any hesitation, Lin Jue immediately gave his own answer in his heart. At the next moment, the system's prompt sound will sound again. Ding! Congratulations to the host for opening the beginner gift pack and obtaining 1 Dark Emperor Rider Drive and 1 Demon Encounter King card, Experience Edition. Host identity detected, corresponding ability activated. As the sound of the system fell, Lin Jue felt a huge force swimming around him, making him unable to help but let out a joyful cry. The sudden surge of power immediately caught the attention of the demon encountering king in front of Lin Jue. Where does this power come from? When encountering demons, the king withdrew his hand and looked at Lin Jue in front of him in surprise. His gaze was fixed on Lin Jue, as if he wanted to discover some secret from him, but it was in vain. In the eyes of the king of encountering demons, Lin Jue suddenly possessed tremendous power, but the source of his power was unknown. A strong curiosity emerged in the heart of the demon encountering king, and his gaze towards Lin Jue was immediately filled with excitement. This kid. There seems to be some incredible secret on me. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 3. Dark Emperor Rider, Alien World. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Although the system was awakened, the king of encountering demons beside Lin absolutely remained very cautious. However, after confirming that the other party seemed to be waiting for him, Lin Jue temporarily calmed down and began to focus on the newly awakened system. System, explain your features. Lin Jue calmed down and began to ask calmly. The novice gift package just now already contains the experience card of the king of encountering demons, at least don't worry about your own life's safety. After hearing Lin Jue's inquiry, the system in my mind also began to explain with ethereal voices. The main function of this system is check.in. As long as the host can check in when the main world night transforms, they can receive corresponding random dark night cards and earn certain points. Without the dark night, you will receive double points. And points can be used to draw night cards. The functions revealed in these short sentences couldn't help but make Lin Jue a bit dumbfounded. Although the power of the Dark Knight is not bad, most of them cannot even compare to their corresponding main cavalry. If the system's function is only like this, the improvement it brings to him may be too small. And the system clearly noticed the change in Lin Jue's mind and spoke again, before introducing the next function, please check your own property panel first. Lin Jue regained his senses and couldn't help but feel a surge of anticipation in his heart. He slowly closed his eyes. In front of him, a virtual system panel appeared. Host. Lin Jue Identity. King of Time Robbers Items. Dark Emperor Rider Drive, Encounter Demon King Card, Experience Edition, Night Card, Touchscreen Ability. Dimensional Wall, Power of the Time Clan Points. 0. Looking at the empty system panel in front of him, Lin Jue opened detailed information in confusion. Dark Emperor Rider Drive. 1. Any night card will unleash 3 times its power. 2. Able to perfectly simulate the waist belt and various equipment of a transformed knight in the system panel, there is a faint symbol of 18 knights on the icon of the Dark Emperor Rider Drive. In order to determine his own ideas, Lin Jue directly checked the knight cards he had. Sure enough, it's like riding the Pinyin Emperor. The knight cards he possesses range from number 1 to creation, with the exception of cards without co-riders, even the final form cards are included. However, the final form of the road that belongs to the Emperor Cavalry itself is still an ordinary touchscreen. Further evolution is only possible after obtaining the power of the King of Time. Waving his hand to put away the panel of the night card, Lin Jue felt a little joy in his heart. Even the Menyashi can ride to the end in the world of the Shirwang with the help of the Magenta Emperor's cavalry. Although half of his power was taken away, he gained the power of the King of Time and possessed the power of a fully fledged knight. If it weren't for the fact that I couldn't bear it in the end and challenge the demon encountering king, I could have been half a winner. But now Lin Jue's Dark Emperor Rider Drive can triple the strength of the knight, and there is basically no pressure to overcome the world of the Time King. Of course, all of this still needs to be done after facing the demon encountering king in front of us. After checking the drive of the Dark Emperor, Lin Jue was ready to retract the system panel. However, the system prompt sound in his mind suddenly sounded, making him realize that the system still had unfinished functions to explain. Ding! The host's current identity is the King of Time Robbers, possessing the strongest power of the Time Clan. Given the host's identity, the system provides additional heterogeneous world functionality to serve the host. A hint of doubt flashed in Lin Jue's eyes, and he immediately urged the system to explain the so-called alien world. The alien world was created by Swaruz, who gained the power of imperial cavalry, in the world of the original king, but lost its possibilities. And in this world, it is not the protagonist knights in the original world who have won, but rather the opposing villains and dark knights. However, the strength of the villains and dark knights born from it varies greatly, and loyalty is also a major issue. However, the heterogeneous world provided by the system is somewhat different from Swaruz's heterogeneous world. It is to create a world where corresponding knights and villains coexist, waiting for Lin Jue to guide the final outcome. After reaching this ending, whether it is the Dark Knight or the original World Knight, their power will belong to Lin Jue. After gaining power, the alien world will also disappear without affecting the original history. However, there are some requirements that make Lin Jue a bit worried about creating a different world. Is there a different type of knight dial corresponding to each form of knight? The excitement that had originally risen on Lin Jue's face due to the influence of the alien world has disappeared, and he has now turned to a bitter melon face. To create an alien world, it is necessary to use the different forms of alien knight dials of the corresponding world's main cavalry as coordinates. Thus creating a heterogeneous world that aligns with the original timeline for Lin Jue to modify. However, each knight who breaks through the sky can only distribute up to 2 parts of the knight's power. One was occupied by a different type of knight, while the other was occupied by Chang Panzhuangwu, leaving behind the various knights who had lost their history. The only exception is the Menyashi, whose power is unknown how many parts were divided out. During the battle against the Demon King, 3 people with imperial cavalry power appeared simultaneously. Perhaps this is also one of the reasons why the 21 God Lord Emperor's cavalry was smashed with a single slap, although the King of Encountering Demons was also the ultimate weakened version. Shaking his head, Lin Jue regained consciousness from these absurd thoughts, but his furrowed brow remained firm. At this moment it was obvious that the system, which also sensed Lin Jue's concern, spoke up again, "Please don't worry, host. You only need to defeat the corresponding knight's various forms to automatically generate an alien knight dial. And the host with the strongest power of the Time Royal clan can also strip the power from the alien knight's dial and return it to the original knight, allowing them to restore their ability to transform." The words of the system were like a calming pill that restored Lin Jue's somewhat depressed mood. With joy in his heart, Lin Jue replied, "That would be much easier." Upon hearing this, the system said calmly, "So let the host arrange the next actions on their own." Friendly reminder, the host can solve the difficulties in front of them through the experience card in the beginner gift package. After saying this sentence, the system silently disappeared into Lin Jue's mind, leaving behind a joyful Lin Jue. Opening his eyes again, Lin Jue unconsciously smiled at the corners of his mouth. The existence of an alien world has given him the possibility to gain more power than the demon encountering king in the world of the Time King. And the strongest power of the Time clan allows him to face anyone except the demon encounter king unscathed. According to the system, Lin Jue now possesses the power of the Time clan even stronger than Swaruz, who absorbed the power of the moon reading. Only in this way can one be considered the so-called king of time robbers. However, all of this needs to be done first to deal with the already impatiently waiting demon king in front of him. Seeing that Lin Jue had regained his senses, the king finally breathed a sigh of relief when encountering demons. He already had some doubts about whether he could continue to wait any longer, so he directly took out everything in Lin Jue's brain and explored it. "I'm curious about what happened to you just now." When encountering demons, the king stretched out his right hand and spread it out to Lin Jue, smiling faintly and saying, "You explain it yourself. Or should I do it myself?" Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 4. Transformation, Dark Emperor Riding. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Looking at the Demon King with a kind smile on his face but full of threats in his words, Lin Jue also restrained his smile. Although he is not worried about losing out in the hands of the Demon Encounter King now, he has an experience card that can unleash 3 times the power of the Demon Encounter King. It would be great if Lin Jue could keep this experience card without any action. However, when encountering the demon, the king had already rushed to his face and did not even give himself the choice, so Lin Jue naturally did not show any courtesy. After coughing lightly twice and moistening his throat, Lin Jue calmly replied, "I have no obligation to answer you." After speaking, he also reached out and patted the sand and wind on his shoulder, clearly not intending to communicate well with the demon encountering king. Lin Jue's answer clearly exceeded the expectations of the king of encountering demons, leaving him somewhat stunned. His hand, which was stretched out in mid-air, also had nowhere to place it. After a moment, Feilu Wang, who had regained his senses, suddenly burst out laughing and naturally held out his hand to his forehead. A set of actions flowed smoothly, without any hint of concealing one's embarrassment. The old laughter echoed in Lin Jue's ears, but it sounded without any pretense. It was indeed a heartfelt laughter. And this also made Lin couldn't help but frown. He didn't understand the behavior of the king when encountering demons, but he didn't speak up to interrupt him. After a moment, the demon king, who had stopped laughing, put down his right hand and his trembling body stopped laughing. He looked over with a gaze that Lin could hardly understand, which contained perhaps surprise or anticipation. "In all these years, you are the first person who dares to refuse me in person. As the king of time robbers, you cannot fail to know my power. So the only explanation is that you gained the power you thought you could resist me in the mutation just now." When encountering demons, the king spoke calmly and without any anger due to Lin Jue's answer. Lin Jue's refusal actually made him realize that something beyond his control would happen next, giving his already rusty body a desire to move again. So, let me see what kind of power you have gained. Accompanied by the old but majestic laughter of the demon encountering king, he opened his hands and waited for Lin Jue's performance. After listening to the words of the king of encountering demons, Lin couldn't help but shake his head and sigh, it seems like we can't avoid a battle. When encountering demons, the king's performance did indeed exceed his expectations, but the final result was still the same. Looking at the dark golden knight in front of him, Lin Jue clearly saw the old but excited figure trembling under the armor. That is the Time King who, after ruling the world for decades, becomes so bored that he grows old. That is an elderly person who has the ability to create and destroy countless worlds, but is so bored that he has been playing house and house with the rebels for decades. In the end, he even became so bored that he hoped his past self could bring him some surprises. However, Lin Jue knew that as the king of time, the king of encountering demons could not be bound by time. Once, a demon king who was extremely weak and transformed into a child, and even needed his past self to heal himself, could instantly kill 21 deities with a single punch. However, this demon king, who had been in a state of being full for decades, kept his old body and poured a galaxy of water into his past self. Taking a deep breath, Lin Jue also made his own choice. He reached out and pulled out a pitch-black knight belt from the void, with the emblem of 18 Heisei knights printed on it. In the distance, when encountering demons, the king squinted his eyes and looked at the unfamiliar belt, whispering, "Is it a black imperial cavalry drive?" There has never been a Dark Emperor rider drive in the world of knights, but what he doesn't know is that these non-existent things are simply created by the system. The appearance of the Dark Emperor's rider drive has greatly reduced the expectations of the king of encountering demons. As a person with the power of all knights, he knows better than anyone what the power of imperial cavalry is. If it's just the power of the imperial cavalry, it's not enough to arouse any interest in him. On the side, Lin Jue did not notice the thoughts of the king when encountering demons, and directly placed the driver on his waist. Brush. A black cassette flew out from one side of the Emperor's ride driver and was fixed around Lin Jue's waist on the other side of the driver. Pulling open the Dark Emperor Knight drive from his waist, Lin Jue's mind twitched and a Knight card appeared directly, suspended in mid-air. Pinch the Knight card, smoothly insert it into the drive, push it up, and gently utter a word. Hensin. Dark Ride. Dark Decade. Dark Rider. Dark Emperor Rider. Dark shadows flew out of the drive and overlapped on Lin Jue's body, forming a pair of black armor. A faint blue light flickered from the crystal on his forehead, and the familiar yet unfamiliar Dark Knight appeared for the first time. Looking down at his hands, Lin Jue felt a surge of excitement due to the immense power flowing through his body. Is this the power of 3 times the Emperor's cavalry? Looking up again, Lin Jue looked at the distant king of encountering demons, but a hint of disappointment flashed in his eyes. Is that the level? When encountering demons, the king raised his hand with a hint of disinterest, and with a snap of his finger, a golden wave flashed past. The next moment, a golden gate of time and space with 2009 printed on it appeared, and a pink knight figure jumped out of it. The knight and Lin Jue looked basically the same at this time, except for the slightly different color and waist drive, which can be said to be the same knight. Just this level of power is not enough to make me take action. When encountering the demon, the king shook his head in disappointment and sat on the throne behind him again, feeling a bit lost in his desire to take action. Why don't we just empty out his brain? Sitting on the throne, the king had already begun to ponder whether to quickly end this boring farce when encountering demons. I've been looking forward to it for so long. Waving his hand, when encountering the demon, the king greeted the summoned imperial cavalry and charged towards Lin Jue. Looking at the emperor cavalry charging towards him with the card box sword in hand, Lin Jue smiled slightly, which happened to be his warm-up partner. After all, this is the first battle, we still need to be more serious. Thinking of this, Lin Jue casually pulled out the black control card box sword from his waist and quickly walked towards the Imperial cavalry. As soon as their figures met, the swords in their hands collided as they swung each other. Bang! The sound of metal collision rang out, sparks splattered everywhere, but the sword in the Emperor's rider's hand suddenly broke and fell to the ground with a snap. However, the card box sword in Lin Jue's hand struck the Emperor's cavalry without any obstruction. Bang! This time, the sound of the body being slapped away rang out, and the figure of the Emperor's cavalry flew out like a shell, crashing towards the Demon King sitting in the distance. As the battle came to an end in an instant, the king was somewhat surprised when encountering the demon, but he still sat still and stood still. The figure of the Emperor's cavalry flying towards him dissipated into pink light particles just as it was about to collide with the demon. In the distance, Lin Jue looked at the sword in his hand and couldn't help but bow his head in contemplation. I didn't control the force well. Casually wiping the card box sword, Lin Jue pointed his sword at the king of encountering demons, and a clear and confident voice came out. You should do it yourself. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 5. When encountering demons, King card, start. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When encountering demons, Wang remained silent as he looked at Lin Jue, whose sword was pointing at him in the distance, speechless for a long time. This is the first time since he became king that someone has stood in front of him to challenge himself. Interesting, really interesting. When encountering demons, the king held on to the armrest of the throne with both hands and slowly stood up. As he stood up, the throne beneath him slowly turned into golden dust and dissipated. The first time, someone dared to challenge me in person. When encountering demons, the king lifted his head and looked at Lin Jue in the distance, his dark red eyes suddenly lit up. The obscure time fluctuations revolve around the king of encountering demons and spread towards all sides. In an instant, the yellow sand froze in the sky, and the throne that had dissipated behind it suddenly came to an end, leaving a sudden and unscientific half standing in mid-air. Immediately after, even the light in the area shrouded in time fluctuations froze and stopped flowing. Everything around was immediately filled with darkness, without any color. The only one that exists and is vivid is the lonely standing Demon King, whose golden figure appears so majestic in the darkness. Looking at Lin Jue, whose time seemed to be frozen in the distance, when encountering demons, the king shook his head and said, "It's boring. This is just a slight display of his time ability, and Lin Jue has no resistance." When encountering demons, the king raised his hand and wanted to pull Lin Jue in front of him to study carefully. He no longer had any expectations for Lin Jue. At this moment, Lin Jue, who had already been frozen, pointed to the card box sword of the demon encountering king, but suddenly fell from his hand. With a loud bang, it hit the ground, echoing through the entire dark space where even the air was frozen. A surprised expression appeared on the face of the king of encountering demons, making him unable to resist speaking up, "Can you resist my time stop?" When encountering demons, the king is not a fool. Naturally, he can see that the reason why Lin Jue can freely fall while controlling the card box sword is that he has not been stopped by himself. And as Lin Jue couldn't fit into his attire, he lightly hooked his hand and pulled the control card box sword from the ground back into his own hand. After wiping off the yellow sand stained on it, Lin Jue smiled and said, "I'm sorry, I happen to have some time skills. But if you exert all your strength, I naturally cannot resist it." Lin Jue, who possesses the strongest power of the Time Royal clan, is able to resist the king's casual stopping when facing demons. However, the gap between the two is still insurmountable, and Lin Jue did not pretend to be humble. And this answer obviously benefited the king of encountering demons. He nodded calmly, then lightly tapped his index finger, and the pause was lifted. Light once again flows into this space, the dancing yellow sand flows again, and when encountering demons, the throne behind the king's body completely dissipates. Your strength is somewhat beyond my expectations. Is this the power of the king of time robbers? It's not bad. When encountering demons, the king did not hesitate to praise himself and openly spoke to Lin Jue. As for the belt on your body, I am also very interested. Let me study it. When encountering demons, the king's voice changed and a golden wave surged towards Lin Jue. Feeling the unstoppable power emanating from it, Lin Jue's face couldn't help but change, as he waved his hand to summon a grey wall. Immediately, the entire figure was engulfed by the wall and disappeared into place. And the golden wave also immediately came to the wall, but did not disappear like Lin Jue. Instead, it was like encountering some resistance and colliding with the grey wall. At the next moment, there was only a loud bang. The grey and hazy wall unexpectedly cracked like a mirror, and then exploded into pieces. Lin Jue, who had already moved to the distance, looked at this scene with a surprised expression on his face. In his opinion, the dimensional wall is the strongest divine skill, whether it is running or playing auxiliary, it is directly pulled full. Even defense can be said to be at its peak, but when Lin Jue first unleashed it, it was directly shattered. When encountering demons, the king's power is indeed too strong. Lin Jue looked at the demon encountering king who had already turned around to look at him, his eyes full of caution. He had originally planned to rely on the power of the Time clan and the Dark Emperor's cavalry to temporarily entangle with the demon encounter king. After all, there was a lesson from Swaruz's past. But now it seems that this plan is about to fall through. Indeed, we still need to use the experience card. Only the power of the king of encountering demons can deal with him. Lin Jue couldn't help but let out a slight sigh in his heart, and once again deeply felt the power of the strongest existence in the world of knights. In this world of knights, the power above all else must be used to defeat him. Otherwise, even if the 21 God Lord Emperor, who has gathered the power of all Heisei knights, rides against the encounter demon king, it will be a matter of a punch. In the distance, when encountering demons, the king looked at Lin Jue's figure and couldn't help but smile slightly, saying, "Can you still dodge this time?" Speaking, when encountering the demon, the king extended his index finger and gently pointed towards Lin Jue. Just now, Lin Jue unexpectedly escaped his attack by transferring through the dimensional wall, but this time there was no chance. After all, the dimensional wall, when encountering demons, the king also knows. The golden energy pulled out a dazzling stream of light in mid-air and slowly headed towards Lin Jue. However, Lin Jue in the distance seemed to be stunned, but remained motionless in the face of the upcoming golden light. When encountering demons, the king saw this and did not show any contempt in his heart. Instead, he was very interested in seeing Lin Jue's countermeasures. He has absolute control over the strength of this attack, and even if Lin Jue is hit without any countermeasures, he will not lose his life. The golden energy came to Lin Jue's face and exploded, engulfing him in the sky with golden light. When encountering demons in the distance, Wang frowned slightly, but then shook his head in relief and laughed. No one would have been able to resist my power. However, he did not notice that a mechanical electronic sound sounded in the area shrouded in golden light. Dark Ride. Omazo, Dark Control. King when encountering demons. In the next moment, the vast expanse of golden light contracted violently and was blown away by an unknown force, revealing the figure below. Blessing moment. Blessing moment. After the mechanical electronic sound, a majestic sound sounded, which was the exclusive blessing moment for the king of encountering demons. Deep and bottomless cracks floated above the surface, exploding and exposing the hot magma flowing below. And the place where the cracks converge is exactly where Lin Jue is located. Underneath him, the golden majesty slowly emerged, representing the phantom of the symbol of the king when encountering demons. Immediately after, countless magma erupted, and the golden clock surrounded Lin Jue. Highest. The best. Maximum. The strongest king. King of the highest benevolence, goodness, and strength. Dazzling golden lightning accompanied by lava that could melt everything, all blended into Lin Jue's body. Oma-z.o, boom. As the low voice fell, the massive impact instantly spread out towards all sides. The ground was completely overturned, leaving the already barren desert with only bare surface rocks in an instant. However, as the massive impact approached the demon encountering king, it was dissipated by an invisible force that had no impact on him. But compared to the damage caused to the body, the critical blow to the soul is even more severe for the king of encountering demons. Because standing in front of him is no longer the original Dark Emperor's cavalry, but the same demon encountering king as him. Of course, the premise is to ignore the black belt that clearly pierces through the lens. How could this be possible? The eyes of the king of encountering demons were full of disbelief, and he never expected that Lin Jue would transform into the form of the king of encountering demons. Moreover, from the astonishing fluctuations that emerged from Lin Jue's body, it seems that not only the armor, but also the power may have been replicated. Looking at Lin Jue in front of him, when encountering demons, the king could no longer control his emotions and lost his voice, saying, "How did you do this?" This is the first time in so many years that the king has lost his composure when encountering demons, and it's not his fault, just because all of this is too unexpected. Faced with the king's awkward inquiry when encountering demons, Lin Jue was not in a hurry to answer. Instead, he looked at his current appearance with great interest. The power brought to him by this armor made him feel a moment of unconsciousness, and this power had increased by countless times compared to before. At this moment, Lin Jue even felt like a deity, and everything in the world was in his hands. No, it's not a deity, but a more powerful existence than a deity, the most powerful existence in the entire world of knights. Taking a deep breath calmed my mood. Lin Jue looked calmly at the king of encountering demons and said, "As long as there is a card, I will also show you the king of encountering demons." Speaking in fear that the king might not understand the meaning when encountering demons, Lin Jue kindly patted his belt. Don't underestimate the power of technology. P.S. New book Seeking Flowers, Seeking Evaluation Tickets, Dear Readers, Great Autumn Mud Cream. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. About updates. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Daily updates of 50,000 words, basically divided into morning and evening updates. If readers really like it, please cast a vote of flowers and reviews. These things are all free, but they can give the punter the motivation to see the code. If you have any comments or suggestions, you can put them up in the comments section. Don't change your mind and play like a ball. Thank you very much for your support and support. Thank you to all the readers. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 6. King of Warfare and Encountering Demons. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When encountering the demon, the king's gaze remained on the Dark Emperor's riding driver on Lin Jue's waist, with a strange light flashing in his eyes. Can this drive actually replicate all my power? Or rather, when encountering demons, the king lifted his head and restored his previous calmness. After all, he has also been invincible for decades, and after a brief surprise, he has also effectively controlled his emotions. Moreover, it is uncertain whether Lin Jue, who has transformed into the king of encountering demons at this time, has a superficial appearance. With a hint of doubt, when encountering the demon, the king extended 2 fingers and gently pinched in the void. A blank knight card was immediately grabbed by him. The power of the Emperor's cavalry should not be enough to withstand my strength. When encountering demons, the king held the blank knight card and a red light flashed through his eyes. The golden energy flowed through his fingertips and was immediately injected into the knight card. The originally blank knight card suddenly became coated with a golden halo, and the image of the king of encountering demons gradually began to be printed on it. However, just as the image of the king of encountering demons was about to fully appear, cracks suddenly appeared on the card. With just a click, the unformed enchanting demon king card directly turned into fragments and fell down. When encountering the demon, the finger that the king was still holding was slowly lowered, and he looked up again at Lin Jue in the distance. Obviously, the Emperor's card is not enough to hold the power of the king of encountering demons, at least in his view. I'm getting more and more curious about you. When encountering the devil, the king looked at the figure in the distance that was exactly the same as himself, and could not help but feel a surge in his heart. Let me see if your non-existent drive can really unleash my power. During his speech, when encountering demons, the king snapped his fingers and golden gates of time and space appeared in mid-air above his head. Immediately after, the figure of a famous knight jumped out of it and without saying a word, rushed towards Lin Jue. My power is the power of all knights, what about yours? When encountering demons, Wang squinted his eyes and waited quietly for Lin Jue to react. Summoning knights can even be said to be the weakest among the powers possessed by the king when encountering demons. After all, apart from himself, no knight can withstand his punch, not even the 21 God Lord, who also possesses equal knight power. However, this seemingly simple summoning skill, if seen by the king of Chonghuang, may lead to embarrassment and self-isolation on the spot. The knights summoned by that name are all the strongest forms of the average knights, and can be said to have the strongest combat power except for the king of encountering demons. However, it was this group of fierce knights who appeared so insignificant in Lin Jue's eyes at this moment. Reaching out and lightly tapping his forehead, Lin couldn't help but smile slightly, but his gaze turned to the golden knight among them. Invincible player. Then let me see if it's really invincible. As the thought flashed through Lin Jue's mind, the two clockwise movements behind the enchanting magic armor suddenly began to rotate. A dark golden clock phantom spun and flew towards a group of knights in the distance, enveloping them. Click. In that shrouded area, time is rapidly passing, and all existing objects are rapidly aging. Even the armor on many knights, which was originally omnipotent in the world, has been stained with a layer of rust that should not exist under such a powerful force of time. After a moment, rust instantly covered the entire body of each knight, causing their movements to freeze in place. Even the invincible player who was once immune to outdated stops is no exception. The luxurious wealthy gold armor has now become as cheap as scrap metal. Immediately after, the next round of time fluctuations struck, and all the knights turned into flying ash without any resistance, disappearing in place. However, Lin Jue never moved even a little from beginning to end, and the gap between them can be imagined. The distant encounter of demons saw this scene, and his originally calm heart began to fluctuate again. The power demonstrated by Lin Jue clearly proves that this is not a simple armor replication, but even the power has been replicated. It can be said that the king stole his account directly in front of the demon, and even used the stolen account to fight against the original account owner. Hee. Thinking of this, when encountering demons, the king couldn't help but lower his head and let out a deep laugh. Immediately after, the laughter grew louder and louder, turning into a burst of laughter. Ha, it's really beautiful. I have to praise you for being able to unleash my power like this. When encountering the demon, the king's laughter suddenly stopped and he lowered his head to look at Lin Jue in the distance, but there was no smile in his eyes. On the contrary, an unprecedented coldness flickered in the eyes of the demon king. When encountering demons, the power of the king always belongs to and can only belong to the power of Chang Panzhuangwu. Even though there are countless demon kings in countless time and space, their true identity is only one, and that is Chang Panzhuangwu. This has been proven by countless times and spaces, and no one, no matter who, can gain the power of the king of encountering demons. What kind of monster meeting king, at best, is just a defective product, not a demon meeting king. But now, a situation that has never happened in all time and space has happened in front of the Demon King. That is, when encountering demons, the power of the king no longer belongs to the only one of Chang Panzhuangwu, but has other owners. Even with the nature of the king when encountering demons, such a situation would never be allowed to exist. The cold gaze remained on Lin Jue's body, and when encountering the demon, the king spoke up, "I'm not interested in letting you answer on your own anymore. Now, let me find the answer from you myself. I will tell you with the true power of encountering demons." Before he could finish speaking, when he met the demon, the figure of the king flickered and appeared in front of Lin Jue in an instant. The voice that reached deep into Lin Jue's heart sounded in his ear. "Who is the true king?" As the words fell, Lin Jue's body felt as if it had been hit by a heavy hammer, and he flew backwards. With a loud bang, it collided with the small hill behind it, directly shattering the entire hill. Amidst the dust, when encountering demons, the figure of the king appeared and walked faintly towards Lin Jue. And Lin Jue, after being struck by the king of encountering demons, was also firmly crushed under the giant rock. Looking at the boulder that buried him inside, Lin Jue's heart was unusually calm. With a slight tremor, the huge impact was to clean up all the surrounding boulders. However, as soon as he saw the sky again, he was greeted by the fist of the king of encountering demons, which carried unparalleled power. Pop! A crisp sound of physical collision sounded, but beneath this gray sky, it was so pleasant to hear. When encountering the demon, Wang's face darkened slightly, and he looked at Lin Jue who had firmly grasped his fist, his heart filled with surprise. Because he was unable to pull his fist out of Lin Jue's hand. But Lin Jue, who grabbed the fist of the king of encountering demons, lightly patted the dust on his body with his other hand. At the next moment, the golden light in the hand of the king of encountering demons erupted, and a huge impact instantly hit the king of encountering demons. With a surprised gaze, when encountering the demon, the king flew backwards towards the distant horizon like a shooting star. And Lin Jue clenched his fist and couldn't help but smile. Is this a triple increase in strength? Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 7. Triple difference, defeat the king of encountering demons. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Feng Yimo was knocked away, the king regained consciousness and stabilized his figure in the air. Is this guy even stronger than me? How could that be? When encountering demons, the king looked at his hand that had just been grabbed by Lin Jue and couldn't help feeling a burst of disbelief. The power he possesses is already the strongest, and there cannot be any stronger power than him. Moreover, the king of encountering demons still has decades of accumulation. Even though his strength has reached its peak, it is not comparable to that of a novice Lin Jue. However, he could never have imagined that no matter how strong his power was, what he would ultimately bring to Lin Jue would be 3 times the strength. Just as the king was surprised when encountering the demon, a golden figure broke through the void and charged straight towards him. Quickly reacting, the king of encountering demons reached out and grabbed a golden and magnificent long sword directly from the void. With rich combat experience, he deeply realized that it was not easy to determine the winner of battles between kings when encountering demons. Because both sides have the same source of power, unless one of them is in a weak state. And now the king of encountering demons is going to create this so-called weak state for Lin Jue. The long sword with the power of the Golden Demon Emperor is the Demon Emperor sword that has the ability to eliminate all power. The power exerted may not be significant in the hands of the Demon Emperor Kiva, Moon Rider, but when it comes to encountering demons, it is a qualitative improvement in the hands of the king. Raise the Demon Emperor sword, and when encountering the demon, the king will strike Lin Jue with a sword. The red sword light swept down on Lin Jue, seemingly covering the entire world. No matter where Lin Jue fled, he could not escape this blow. But Lin Jue, who rushed up to the sky at an extremely fast speed, remained unmoved by the sword light that overwhelmed everything and shone brightly under the scorching sun. He reached out and grasped the strongest time extreme sword exclusively belonging to the King of Time. Immediately, a golden sword light piercing the sky emerged from the sword in Lin Jue's hand, forming a 40-meter-long sword. And on top of that surging golden energy, there are the words, "The King of Time is the strongest," prominently printed. However, Lin Jue casually wiped out those big characters and replaced them with the strongest Dark Emperor cavalry. Immediately, the originally golden sword light also turned into black and gold, and was directly driven by Lin Jue to cut towards the red sword light. Boom! A dazzling light emanated, and as the two sword lights collided, the red sword light shattered with a loud bang. But the captivating black and gold sword light only slightly dimmed, and then was controlled by Lin Jue to slay towards the king of encountering demons. How could it be like this? When encountering demons, the king's eyes were full of disbelief, unable to understand why there was a significant strength gap between the two. As the king of encountering demons, he was confident that he would not lose to himself in any time and space, and naturally would not lose to this sudden appearance of a young man. However, reality forced the king of encountering demons to accept this and raise the demon emperor's sword in his hand to block him. With the blessing of the power of the demon emperor and the power of encountering demons, the demon emperor sword in hand is blessed with the most powerful power in history. The red and gold radiance complemented each other on the sword, emitting terrifying waves. Bang! The golden sword light cleaved onto the demon emperor sword, but it broke inch by inch, constantly shattering the originally 40-meter-long sword light. Click! A crack quietly appeared on the once impeccable demon emperor sword. Subsequently, more cracks emerged on this once most powerful weapon. The next moment, after the last moment of sword light shattered, Lin Jue carried the strongest time limit sword and directly struck the demon emperor sword. Pop! The demon emperor sword, which was already riddled with cracks, immediately shattered into fragments and fell from the hands of the demon encountering king. And the sword in Lin Jue's hand also swung towards the body of the king of encountering demons without stopping at all. Faced with this powerful blow, when encountering the demon, the king's eyes showed no fear at all. Instead, he raised his right hand with a fierce fighting spirit to block in front of him. The golden barrier instantly unfolded, blocking Lin Jue's sword in front of him. As he reached out to resist Lin Jue's attack, the king of encountering demons also looked at Lin Jue with a serious expression and said, "There hasn't been such a battle in many years. You did a great job." When encountering demons, the king looked very effortless, and Lin Jue's attack was perfectly blocked by him, unable to make any progress. Upon hearing this, Lin Jue smiled and said, "Your strength is still strong, even though it's mine now." When encountering the demon, Wang was choked by Lin Jue for a moment, and suddenly felt a chill in his heart. He could only shake his head if he wanted to erupt. "I want to know why you can exert such a powerful force. In theory, my strength has reached its peak and I am no longer able to advance inch by inch." With a puzzled gaze, when encountering the demon, the king turned to Lin Jue in front of him for advice, without any trace of the dignity of a king. Looking at the confused and puzzled king of encountering demons in his eyes, Lin Jue also restrained his smile. Turning to look at the demon encountering king with sincerity, he said, "It's very simple. Because my strength is 3 times yours, no matter how strong you are, I will be 3 times yours." This answer clearly confused the king of encountering demons even more, but immediately, he smiled with relief and said, 3 times. "Is that so?" The next moment, his barrier that resisted Lin Jue's attack instantly shattered, indicating that he had been forcibly maintaining his dignity before. "No wonder I can't win against you." Shaking his head and smiling bitterly, when encountering the demon, the king's body was struck by the strongest time extreme sword. Boom! Like a meteor falling, it smashed into the ground, causing the land to sink and even triggering a significant earthquake in the ruins of surrounding cities. Looking down at the huge pit below with thick smoke, Lin Jue casually waved back the strongest time extreme sword. Immediately, his entire figure slowly descended towards the center through the thick smoke. There lay an elderly man in his 50s with gray hair, staring at the sky with a pair of old and cloudy eyes. This blow was already Lin Jue's all-out blow, and even when encountering demons, the king could only be knocked back to his original form due to the huge power gap. The reason why Lin Jue did not use the necessary skills of the demon-encountering king was simply because he believed that he did not have a life-and-death relationship with the demon-encountering king. There is no endless reason between the two, and once such an attack is used, the king will definitely be killed directly when encountering demons. After all, even the emperor's cavalry armor that uses the power of the holy blade can directly kill the king of encountering demons, let alone the current Lin Jue. Looking at the demon king lying motionless on the ground, as if dead, Lin Jue opened his mouth and was about to comfort his wounded soul. At this moment, a crisp reminder sounded in his mind. Ding! Detected that the host has defeated the king of encountering demons, and can absorb the power of encountering demons from them through the power of the Time Clan. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 8. Blank Encounter Demon King Card. You are listening at novel.Audio. The system's prompt sound sounded, and Lin couldn't help but retract what he was about to say. For a moment, I was taken aback and looked at the already haggard king of encountering demons, unable to take action for a moment. That's strange. He excitedly raised his hand and unleashed the power of his Time Clan. After all, he had threatened himself before and absorbed the power of the king of encountering demons without any burden on Lin. Golden energies kept flowing out of the king of encountering demons, causing his entire body to tremble uncontrollably. And those energies flew towards Lin Jue, slowly injecting into the drive in his waist. At the next moment, the armor of the demon encountering king on Lin Jue slowly faded and he was directly released and transformed. And the brief experience of encountering demons, the king card, also flew out of the drive and was suspended in mid-air driven by golden energy. The king's avatar, which had already dissipated due to the expiration of the experience, was filled with golden energy and once again revealed a silhouette. Before long, a blank knight card with the outline of the king of encountering demons was formed. And those golden energies also dissipated along with it, stopping the extraction of power from the king of encountering demons. Hey! Why did it stop? Looking at the sudden cessation of energy transmission, Lin couldn't help but feel a little confused. At this moment, he noticed that the king of encountering demons lying next to him had already stood up and regained his usual demeanor. Although the tattered grass shoes on his feet made his demeanor somewhat difficult to maintain, it still made Lin feel a bit dignified. After all, my experience card for encountering demons has expired. If the encountering demons king encounters difficulties now, I'm afraid I might be in some danger. But after looking up at the blank encounter demon king card suspended in mid-air, Lin Jue couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief in his heart. Being able to form this blank card clearly absorbed a lot of the power of the king of encountering demons. After all, in order to form a complete king of encountering demons card, one must squeeze it dry. And now, although there is only a profile of the king of encountering demons, it should still have absorbed a lot of the power of the king of encountering demons. So facing the demon king who has already been injured and absorbed his strength, Lin Jue still has confidence that he can easily retreat from his subordinates. After confirming his own safety, Lin Jue looked at Feng Mo and said, "Don't be so stingy. Let me absorb more." Lin Jue himself did not stop absorbing the power of the king of encountering demons, which was obviously the absorption of the power cut off by the king of encountering demons himself. After hearing Lin Jue's words, the king of encountering demons, who had finally regained his composure, almost couldn't catch up and turned to glaring angrily at Lin Jue. But the thought of arguing with a little kid in his early 20s made him burst into laughter. Not wanting to argue with Lin Jue anymore, the demon encountering king looked up at the demon encountering king card in the air and waved his hand to remove it. However, no matter how he waved his hand, he was unable to summon the demon encountering king card, causing a hint of embarrassment on his old face. Lin Jue couldn't help but feel a little puzzled as he watched this scene, but a playful smile appeared on his face. The system in his mind immediately answered Lin Jue's doubts. The Dark Emperor Rider Drive is a prop exclusively for the host, and everything, including the night card, cannot be taken away by others. As long as the host wants it, they can call it into their own hands at any time. And this answer was obviously like a reassuring blow, making Lin Jue's smile even more intense. He thought for a moment, and the blank Enchanting Magic Card floating in the air flew towards Lin Jue and was grabbed by him. When encountering the demon, the king watched this scene and couldn't help but take a breath, but nodded thoughtfully. It seems that this night card is something exclusive to you, can't even I take it away. When encountering the demon, the king couldn't help but look up and down at Lin Jue, but he no longer had the same desire to thoroughly study him as before. After all, in the battle just now, Lin Jue clearly had the ability to kill him, but he did not do so. When encountering demons, the king naturally wouldn't have the audacity to attack Lin Jue. If it weren't for Lin Jue's constant absorption of his power just now, the king would still continue to pretend to be dead when encountering demons. Being defeated by an unknown kid is still a very embarrassing thing. But now it seems when encountering demons, the king raised his eyes and said with a smile, "It seems that your power just now was temporary." Upon hearing this, Lin Jue nodded irrefutably and said, "That's right." When encountering the demon, the king showed a face as expected and shook his head, saying, "But you have indeed defeated me. Then consider those powers just now as spoils of war for you." He thought in his heart that if he had persevered a little longer, he might have achieved this victory, but then he was a bit self-deprecating. Although victory or defeat is important, the process involved is even more important. From the process, it is obvious that he was not Lin Jue's opponent at the time, and even if he managed to win, it would have no meaning. However, what he didn't expect was that no matter how long he persisted, as long as Lin Jue didn't knock him down, the experience card wouldn't expire. With a deep sigh, the king waved his hand when encountering the demon and said, "Leave and go back to your era." Upon hearing this, Lin Jue couldn't help but regretfully glance at the demon encountering king, as he still felt heartbroken for not obtaining the complete demon encountering king card from him. Looking down at the blank Enchanting Magic Card in his hand, a gray-white outline of the Enchanting Magic King was prominently imprinted on it. However, Lin Jue was somewhat confused and didn't know how to make this night card complete. In his understanding, the night cards owned by the Emperor's cavalry are all contra cards, and only after establishing bonds with those knights can they obtain the complete night card. Isn't this statement intended to establish a so-called bond between oneself and the 60-year-old man, the king of encountering demons? Thinking of this, Lin couldn't help but shiver and feel a chill on his spine. If it were only for Chang Panzhuangwu, who was 18 years old, it would be fine. The 68-year-old king of encountering demons couldn't accept it. Having calmed down, Lin Jue was about to inquire about the system, but the system was the first to respond. Ding! When encountering demons, the king card originally did not exist and could not be obtained through binding methods. Lin Jue was slightly taken aback, thinking of the scene where the king of encountering demons attempted to create the king's card but failed, because the night card was not enough to carry the king's power. Next, the system spoke again. There are two ways to obtain the complete enchanting demon king card. One way is to completely absorb the power from the king of encountering demons in front of him. Speaking, the system paused and gave Lin Jue a reaction time. And this answer also made Lin Jue look at the demon encountering king in front of him with a somewhat fiery gaze. When Feng Imo, who had already turned away from looking at Lin Jue, Wang suddenly shuddered. He quickly turned around to look at Lin Jue, only to find that Feng Zheng was bowing his head in contemplation. He couldn't help but touch his forehead to suspect if he had hallucinations after his defeat. For this choice, Lin Jue naturally gave up without any hesitation, which is very unrealistic. After realizing that Lin Jue did not choose this method, the system spoke up again. Another method is to defeat the various forms of the King of Time. Each defeat of the king's form in one stage can make the king's card complete when encountering demons. After defeating the final form of the Time King, you can obtain the complete Encounter Demon Time King card. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 9. The World in 2018. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After the system's response was given up, Lin Jue disappeared again, leaving a bewildered expression on his face. Just defeat the King Chonghuang, right? Lin Jue suddenly smiled slightly, looking at the blank card in his hand as if it was already complete. There is no other way. The scene of the king's firepower being fully activated during the reign of Emperor Chonghuang is truly unforgettable for Lin Jue. Even the missiles of the G4 and the flying kicks of the cavalry can knock him down, making it even easier for Lin Jue. That way, I can rest assured. With a sigh of relief, Lin Jue waved his hand and retrieved the Demon Encountering King card in his hand. Compared to absorbing the power of the King of Encountering Demons, defeating Chang Panzhuangwu is obviously a trivial matter. So, my goal is also determined. Lin Jue looked up and glanced at the gray sky, making his decision. He was originally going to be brought to the world of the king, but he was caught by the king when he encountered demons. Now that the system has been activated, if you want to enhance your strength, you naturally need to go to the world of Shirwang. After all, only in the world of the Time King, can all the night worlds merge to make it easier for Lin Jue to enhance his strength. Glancing at the Demon Encountering King in front of him, Lin Jue's face also showed a faint smile. At least after this battle, it is highly likely that the king will not come to trouble himself again when encountering demons. So in the world of the King of Time, there will be no one who can stop his footsteps. Abandoning the idea of greeting the King of Encountering Demons, Lin Jue waved and summoned a dimensional wall, then turned around and walked into it. After the dimensional wall slowly disappeared and Lin Jue's figure left this era, the king slowly turned around when encountering demons. He looked at the place where the dimensional wall had dissipated and couldn't help but let out a deep sigh. This kid has indeed gone to the past era. Fingers lightly tapped, and a dilapidated throne reappeared behind the Demon Encounter King. He sat down somewhat blankly and closed his eyes. I don't know what kind of intersection will arise between him and me in the past. Although Lin Jue's existence may cause a deviation in the king's grasp of the past when encountering demons, he believes that no matter what, his past self will be able to gain powerful power. Countless beings in time and space, such as Chang Panzhuangwu, have proven this point, and they will eventually gain the power of the King of Time. However, only some excellent individuals can attain the highest power. When encountering demons, the king hopes that his past self can also gain the highest power like him. I'm really looking forward to it. What exactly will happen? The World in 2018. A dimensional wall spans from 50 years away and emerges in this space and time. Lin Jue's figure slowly walked out of it, looking at the world he was quite familiar with. The towering buildings and bustling streets around are two different worlds from the future world. No one would have imagined that the world 50 years later would be a wasteland, with no hope for humanity. Lin Jue had no aversion to the Demon King who ruled the future world. After all, he himself is not the kind of kind-hearted person who would think of benefiting humanity after gaining power. Of course, Lin Jue has no interest in the behavior of ruling the world as a major villain. All he has to do is act freely in this world in the way he wants. Looking up at this azure sky, it was a stark contrast to the previously gloomy sky. In a faint moment, Lin Jue could feel the seemingly identical planets twinkling in the sky. In a pitch-black starry sky, 20 azure planets move steadily. However, in fact, these 20 worlds are now completely integrated and no longer separated. The world where every night exists is simply too suitable for me. Retrieving his gaze, Lin Jue turned around with a hint of smile and looked into the distance. He, who possesses the strongest power of the Time Clan, can easily perceive the position of others with the same power. Even vaguely, Lin Jue sensed an extremely powerful but also very covert force. And this force, obviously, is the monthly reading that has been sealed with memories and power, but I don't know when it is now. Since you are the king of time robbers, then you should be with the so-called time robbers. Lin Jue withdrew his perception and turned to walk in a certain direction. Above an abandoned rooftop. A gentle breeze blew by, but suddenly it froze in place. The flow of time stopped, and 3 figures suddenly appeared on the rooftop. These 3 people are naturally the time robbers who came to this world. Click. The flow of time continued, and a gentle breeze blew through, lifting Ola's green hair. However, the cool breeze could not calm Ola's restless mood. With a face full of anxiety and anger, Ola leaned against the edge of the railing and punched it hard with her little pink fist. Dong! A crisp sound came out, and the railing suddenly bent down, clearly unable to withstand the angry girl's attack. This scene was seen by Ur on the side, and a hint of fear flashed on his delicate and girlish face. This was the first time he had seen Ola so irritable towards things around him, which made him afraid that he would be treated as an outlet for anger. But as soon as he thought about the reason behind the incident, Ur couldn't help but feel a little angry in his heart, and his small fist clenched tightly. However, he didn't directly vent his anger on the railing in front of him like Ola did. He knew very well that only he was injured in this way. Ola, please calm down a bit. No matter how anxious we are, we can't save the king. Ur, with a hint of caution, pulled Laola's sleeve in an attempt to calm her down. His tone was gentle, somewhat like that of a quiet girl, making Ola turn around and look over. Are we just waiting like this? When encountering demons, the old man Wang doesn't know how to torture him. Thinking of Lin Jue's figure, Ola's face was filled with worry, but it was soon replaced by hatred towards the demon encounter king. They chose to come to the past to modify history and establish a new time king because they couldn't bear the future world ruled by the demon king. It can be seen from this that in the future world, when encountering demons, the king has done many heinous things that have provoked a group of people to want to change history. After all, Ola clearly realized that there was no point in doing so and gradually calmed down. Upon seeing this, Ur also pretended to be brave and comforted Ola, beginning a peaceful conversation. But Swaruz, standing behind him, looked at the two comforting each other with a hint of sneer. It's impossible to fully retreat from the king's subordinates when encountering demons. That guy is probably already dead in the future world. Swaruz mercilessly sentenced Lin Jue to death in his heart, and he was the person who was most willing to see this situation. With Lin Jue, the nominal king of time robbers, Swaruz would find it difficult to carry out his plans. However, it is related to the power of the demon encountering king and the throne of the Time Clan. Even if Lin Jue is here, Swaruz will not let him interfere with him. Others may not see it, but Swaruz is aware that Lin Jue, the king of the time robbers, has no power at all. After all, the so-called time robbers are just tools created by his time royal family to work. Even if such a guy comes back alive, I can easily erase him. A fierce light flashed in Swaruz's eyes, as if it was as easy as wiping out Lin Jue and slaughtering the chicks. At this moment, a man dressed in black suddenly drifted past Swaruz. In an instant, Swaruz felt his whole body cold, as if he had fallen into an ice cave, making him feel a sense of crisis from within. Brush. Swaruz's figure instantly retreated, distancing himself from the person and looking over with a guarded expression. And this kind of movement naturally attracted Ola and Ur ahead. These two little white people, who knew nothing, turned around and saw a tall and exceptionally handsome man in black, who was naturally Lin Jue. A surprised expression appeared on the faces of the two, and was soon replaced by surprise, with the same address coming from their mouths. Wang. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.